If I'm right, Danny may be innocent.
Danny, where did they all go?
So to start off, we are going to talk spoilers up to episode 7, but in episode 6, we really get Raya's backstory and we find out that she is a psychologist. I'm curious, what did you enjoy most about the storytelling aspect of this episode, and that it wasn't revealed in the beginning, but rather build up to it?
It's important that we don't see that in the beginning, because we want to know that this person, this character, is someone who's there to help Danny, maybe the only person who really kind of believes that he's got a story to tell that's worthwhile, and believes she could get the truth out of him. And then you realize why, but by the time you realize, I think it's important that by the time you realize what she does in her life and her career, that she's a psychologist, I think you're already convinced that these two have created a really kind of beautiful, deep bond, and then you actually really trust Raya by then. And I think that's why it's good that we wait a little while to get to know her, but then it's just the perfect time, because they're going on this journey together and she's not going to let him go. And she's the person who makes it possible for him to finally heal, try to start unpacking everything that happened, and it's just, they need each other, and it's a beautiful. I love that this relationship is the heart of the story, because we all need somebody to see us and believe in us in order for us to feel safe in the world.
And I'm, really just a fan of how you guys handle mental illness and mental health in this series. I'm curious, what conversations are you hoping that this show starts? And how did it feel to introduce it with your character's knowledge? Because we get a lot of mental health information in episode 6.
I hope people start talking about, or at least continue the conversation about, the fact that just because someone behaves a little differently doesn't mean that you can't connect with them or relate to them or even care about them. It's just, it's people are so afraid of otherness, which is so crazy, because we all, when it comes to mental illness and mental health, we're all on a spectrum of trauma. I truly believe that every child has had traumas, because anything that happens to you as a child, you can't process the same way we would as an adult in a more healthier perspective. Something happens to us, we have a reaction to it, we don't understand the reaction, and it lives inside of us. So it's just like Danny's trauma is extreme, and his body took care of him in a way that was what it needed to do in order to survive. That's what happens. We know this now. It's 2023. We have a lot of information, and people, it is still, something that feels very stigmatized, even though it's more present in all of us than anything else. We all have an emotional life, and we are all fragile, and our brains are incredibly sensitive and incredibly strong and incredibly impactful in how it handles crisis and how it handles visceral trauma. So it's what are we gonna do? Are we gonna give, fund actual good mental health care in a way that helps us as a country and as the world's, especially the country. Sorry, but it's just, I think this is important. The show is important. Apple TV Plus is incredible for producing it and letting us, help spread that kind of message.
We find out that Ariana is actually one of Danny's alters. What a big twist. Did you try to leave hints or maybe teases in your performance up until that revelation?
I don't think I tried to leave hints or anything, but I think, funny enough, there were a lot of kind of moments, I think, between me, Akiva, and Cornell, where it's is she doing this as an alter, or because she's a person, but at the same, it was really confusing, to be honest, of how to feel like your own person and make your own decisions, but then also realize that you can't pick up a cup with your left hand if he's eating with his left hand, so how do you switch that? And oh man, I'm exhausted just saying that.
That is so interesting to think about, though. I feel like when I go back and rewatch the series, I'm going to notice so many different things.
It's wild. And, you have to feel like an individual, but at the same time, you're like, I'm not even doing this because I want to. Yeah.
And, obviously, I feel like this show is going to really bring up some conversations about mental health and mental illness. What do you hope it starts because of this show? And was that part of the reason you got involved in the show?
I would definitely say it's part of the reason I got involved. I have a lot of empathy for that realm, and I'm always so curious as well, and I think this show is so much more focused on the actual healing process and recovery, and the fact of what trauma does to you when you experience it as a childhood kind of is a part of shaping who you are as an adult and through adolescence. But at the same time, it is such a journey of like, it doesn't confine who you are, and that everyone just has so many different versions and experiences with it, that two people could literally have gone through almost the exact same thing, and how they move forward with that can be the complete opposite. I love just the fact of like trying to this self-awareness to then how do I help this? How do I, not put a Band-Aid on it, but like heal.
And lastly, is there anything you personally learned from Danny's story or the series overall?
I think it gave me like an extra boost of like compassion for people really just trying. I always felt that I had that, and I tried to give myself that, but everyone is so different, and how we handle things is so different, and everyone, even if they say they don't want to get better, are still trying to get better. And if they say they want to get better, it doesn't mean that it's going to be quick and in a hurry and right away. And, even I think sometimes I'm like, I've gotten over that. I've healed through that. And then I find myself being like, no, you're just so good at saying that. So maybe like dive a little bit deeper.
Sasha, congrats on this show. Thank you again for your time. I really appreciate it. And it was a pleasure speaking with you.